terms about the just transition. So I appreciate him doing that for us and taking time. And Pedro Pizarro would have been here, but the Secretary of Energy today is going to California. And that's why Pedro could not be here, and Tom sacrificed not being there. She's visiting the LA incubator to be with us today. So that transition, we think the IOUs play a real leadership role, and we appreciate their partnership in being here. And then the third one is that we believe that we as a chamber have a role to play in that transition as a valued partner, because that transition is going to require all hands on deck, from consumers to suppliers to vendors to thought leaders to policymakers, and we have them here today. When I see Ernie, and Ernie, I want to give a special shout out to Ernest and Cynthia and the folks here at Albuquerque, because to quote Alice, you have been like a bone on a dog. Okay? And our governor, wow, now, before I worked in energy, I worked in the Clinton administration, so I'll declare my partisan orientation, but that's not partisan politics. That's thought leadership. That's action. And as someone who was born in Cuba, I thought about her comment. We could not have that kind of public discussion if it were in this country. So I appreciated her taking the time, and she challenged us 2 years ago to have this energy summit here. So when Ernie and I and the team, we were thinking about this, and kudos to Ramiro and his amazing team for putting this together, we said, why not create our own version of Sun Valley? Why can't we do this here, not do this with diversity or inclusion as the banner, but as the energy transition, and then have leaders like this, leaders like Pedro and others coming in here, Leah Marquez Peterson, James Campos, folks from all sides of the equation coming in here and saying, this is our point of view, and they happen to be of our shared background, diverse background. So now, what about the framework for going forward? You've heard us talk about our 3 C's, the access to capital for Hispanic-owned businesses, the extending and enhancing the capabilities for more than 250 chambers of ours, and then the access to those connections that we have for procurement at the federal and other levels, including the private sector. Well, I'm going to throw out, with your permission, 3 E's. The first one is about education, and you heard it today. We need to play a leadership role at the chamber in highlighting that level of education and awareness so folks understand the full totality of what this energy transition means. The second one is we want to encouragement. We want to encourage best practices like you're seeing from our leaders today. And a special shout out to Encore. In that role at Liberty Power, they were one of the first that gave us a chance. It's a small little energy company, minority-owned energy company. We served them for 10 years. And they demonstrated that they led by their values and their purpose. I think in their report I read over the last, since 2007, over $2.3 billion in diverse spending. And I don't think they suffer for it. In fact, if anything, it's an amazing company. And Alice is on the board, and we're happy that we have leadership like that on the board. And then the third is the engagement. Today, we're going to be signing 2 MOUs. I want to give a shout out to my friend Jose Perez in Hispanics Energy, who has been fighting that fight for a long, long time. And it's a shame, frankly, that we only have, I think, less than a handful of maybe 2 or 3 Hispanic representatives or commissioners. And for those who have never attended a regulatory NARUC, that's where things get done. This is a regulated industry, big time. We've heard about that. So to not have our voices there, so Jose, you've been a champion for that. And then we're also going to sign an MOU with Blue Wave, and you'll hear about that later. And Alma, you and Eduardo, to bring your thought leadership that you retired from the energy majors of Exxon and BP, to create a platform to be able to facilitate these amazing Hispanic-owned businesses, 5 million of them, that are ready to continue and extend their value-adding role into this energy transition. So in closing, let me just share with you, I was reading a book by Andrew Winston called Net Positive, and he quoted Desmond Tutu. He said, I'm a prisoner of hope. I'm a prisoner of hope. When you come here as a little kid from Cuba and you live every day in America, even with all its flaws, it's a blessing. But 25 years ago or so, I came here to Santa Fe, and it was an eye-opening experience for me. Not only because I had never been west, at that time I just joined the Clinton administration as a young guy finishing graduate school, but because it expanded my aperture of understanding what it means to be an American, what it means to be a Latino, what it means to be a citizen. Not only on the Latino front, to understand that as a Cuban, the world didn't start in 1959, or as an American in 1776, but even and especially, in a shout out to Ernie and his team, for honoring our Native American community, to understand that, boy, the lens and the aperture and the history goes a lot further back. So como Latino, I appreciate that greatly, and kudos to you. Because we know, Dr. King talked about that mutual, that single garment of destiny, that network of mutuality. We're living that, we're going to demonstrate that. So I'll leave you with a quote that a dear friend of mine from Spain, Juan Verde from Canarias, quoted once. He said, algunas personas que luchan un día son importantes. Algunas personas que luchan muchos días son más importantes. Pero algunas personas que luchan todas sus vidas, esos son los imprescindibles. Those are some people fight one day, and they're important. Some fight many battles, many times are more important. But there are some people who fight always and forever, and those are the most important. And those folks are you right here today, because we're making history. We'll be back next year, and we're going to do it together. So muchas gracias, thank you, and look forward to a great conference.